Live and direct from the third year interim exhibition. First guests. How you guys doing?
Not bad.
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Cameron. I study fine art here.
Well, we are fine art here.
Do a bit of painting, and well, I try. I think I do paintings, but it's just a big farce.
Yeah. So, what you doing for this interim exhibition?
Well, produced 2 paintings, more or less coming out from what I did last year, looking at like religion and how culturally we use religion as like a mask to I don't know, get away with things and use that have that use of power to to exploit. And in a way, with my paintings, I want to visualize something that may shock the viewer or like provoke them or get them thinking about how
Questioning religion, maybe?
questioning it. But at the same time, it's weird because when I started the whole project, I found myself being like, oh, yeah, religion being like Christianity in this case being violent, and how can they get away with all these things? But then I ended up coming full circle because before I was like viewing these religious spaces in like a I don't know, in a way where I'm like, oh, how could they, and all this stuff, and like almost blaming them. But I've came full circle and realised that it's not really about that. It's more or less me falling for it just a way how people would, be brainwashed in thinking they have to have a certain attitude or outlook on life, otherwise, you know, they'll pay for it. So with my work, I'm starting to come full circle with the fact of maybe showing religion more in the light that it's intended to be from a moral standpoint, because it's not necessarily something like oh, you have to be this certain way because this is how I view it, because that's what the power stance is of it, or whoever wants to exploit it. So I mean, it even comes in with like the 10 Commandments. It's like, thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
That should be a clear outline to, like, you can't kill people. But even then, people, and through other religions as well, but I've mainly focused on Christianity too, because it's just local to me and it's something I feel like I can delve in a bit more. But yeah, so it's more or less looking at religion in that more pure way, and
Right.
Showing that, but then having this juxtaposition of graphic, I don't know, like pain, and showing that within these spaces to almost have that complete difference going on.
All right, man.
So you can see that, but like so yeah, but at this point in the paintings I've displayed, like they're sort of that halfway between, so like the spaces yeah, the spaces between look they're still quite gritty and dark looking and menacing. So for my future practice, I'm thinking of more paring that back and like making it a bit more I don't know, euphoric looking, almost like as if it was the intention of when they build these giant structures to be like a place on Earth, but then have these disembodied figures within them. But yeah, that's more or less where I stand. That's very happy.
Also, English. To mention, it's here in PS2, Project Space 2 exhibited. And any social links, people where they can see your work? Is it Instagram you got?
Yeah, I've got my main Instagram page,
Okay.
which is just my name, Cameron.
Note
John
to myself
Cole.
to edit it. 3, 2, 1. Boop.
Cameron John Cole.
There
on
you
Instagram. It's just my name.
Yeah, simple as that. Okay, hi Joel.
Hey, I'm Joel Duncan. I am a fine artist.
Yeah.
My practice is mainly about light and how I can interpret the chiaroscuro style. But I'm mainly a realistic painter, but I've kind of stepped into like the abstract and seeing if I can
Merging the
portray.
two worlds together.
Yeah, like trying to I don't know. It's a really hard one for me to try and explain what I'm trying to take from it, because I'm torn between two worlds of abstract and realism. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a short one, because my work is literally just about how I can interpret light in my own way through my imagination, or through pictures or objects as well. Memento mori is plays quite a big part in my work.
Right.
And maybe you can edit in like a
An image.
picture of my work or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's
Do
pretty
you
much where
want?
I'm at,
Are you looking your paintings to be quite like sophistical, philosophical, or just aesthetically pleasing?
a bit of both, really.
Yeah.
I like a little bit of a message in there in my work, like a little bit of a hidden
Add a
message.
bit depth to it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like having a skull painting, that's kind of reminds people that they're all the same person. You're gonna die, you're gonna end up in the same hole as everyone else, no matter what riches you have.
Yeah.
And then I usually base my paintings around that kind of style as well. So it's I would say it's quite a big part of my work.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Any social media you would like people to know about you got, where people can see your work?
Yeah, it's just Instagram at the moment. It's
Right.
Joel D Art.
All right.
All one word, all lowercase.
Boom. I'll put it.
Sweet. Cool. Get me out there.
Cool. Yeah. Shout out. There you go. All right.
We back?
Yeah, that's
Can
all
you
right.
hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, good.
Hear. Yeah. Take two. Hello,
Hello.
Emma.
Hello.
So you're exhibiting today in this lovely St. George's building at NUA.
Yes.
We want to talk about your practice and, give a
sure.
bit of context to your work.
So my work is kind of primarily based on mental health and physical health, which I think is kind of a very personal thing, but it's a very universal thing. And it's something that we do take for granted, I think, quite a lot, and we don't really take much into consideration when it comes to our own mental health and physical health sometimes. So I think that's why it drives me to do artwork like that.
Okay.
So
It's like also like kind of an not activist, but more of like a raising awareness type of.
yeah, I'd like to kind of raise awareness around those kind of subjects, because as much as it is really important, a lot of things are being cut by the government, and financially I think some things are hidden quite a lot of times. So that's why I think I like doing work around that, because it's a really, really, really important thing. So yeah,
That's nice. Yeah.
I like to I think my passion is to care for people, and I think if I can kind of do that through my art, then hopefully I've got that purpose there for myself, but also to help others is something that I've always wanted to do. So
Yeah.
I hope I tick that box.
I think definitely you did tick.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Well, what did I want to say? I forgot.
What about your work?
Oh well.
Yeah, let's talk about your work.
Wow. Changing the cards here. Playing
Yeah.
that. Change the thing in Uno. Well, my work is based on symbolism, religion, spirituality. I made an octagonal shaped frame for this exhibition, which I haven't finished painting the thing, but it looks, it looks alright by itself, just being white primed. It's the most primed layer primed. I can't English. It's the most primed painting that I did so far, with 9 layers of primer, extra smooth, but it needs more sanding on top of it, and trying to kind of summarize the whole, I guess, universe within triangle all the way to an octagon. So I want to have a triangle, square, pentagon, hexagon, septagon, and octagon, all those shapes within those eight within that octagonal frame.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, the smallest 2D shape is triangle. You can't have two, because there would be a single line.
That's true.
But then, for example, in Christianity, you got the Holy Trinity. Then with a square, it's a building block. It has 4 faces, It can be interpreted in north, south, east, and west. Um, it can, well, Pentagon is, for example, in Christianity, it's seen as, when a human spreads their arms and legs, it's a five
That's true.
five faced shape. Also, yeah, then the cross itself, it's four sides, so I guess that's also implemented in the square. Hexagon is, the David star, for example, in Judaism. Septagon is the seven-sided, which was being used by a lot of pagan religions, for example. Then octagon is used in Taoism, the 8 diagram, for example, which is also like a summary of the different mentalities and traits of people and everything. And also octagon is used in a lot of Islamic art. So, I mean, you could go further on, but I think these, from triangle to octagon, these 6 shapes are the most basic, most primary things ever. And then everything else is just an add-on and just a, icing on the cake. But these shapes are the actual cake.
Yeah, so kind of like the philosophy of everything and the way of life to an extent.
Yeah, just trying to summarize everything, to see the similarities and also the differences. I see religion more of a philosophy rather than actual religion.
Yeah.
I think I might have said this in my presentation if you remember. But yeah, I think it's just, morality, and you don't have to call yourself religious to have good morals. It's those internal morals that's called religion. It's just universal. Opa, the desk is moving. But yeah, it's just trying to shine light on good thing.
Yeah.
I think like what Cameron was saying, his critique of religion. I think that's been introduced when religion was mixed with authority. And that's where corruption starts. And that's where war starts. But there's this, for example, Vinča culture in Serbia. There was culture during the Neolithic era, the second part of Neolithic era, where the society lived. It was like a first metropolis, like major city in Europe, and the leader would be the person who would take responsibility.
Yeah.
He wasn't picked by a god. He wasn't picked by people. He was a person who was able to take on responsibility. And so that society lived in perfect harmony. And everyone was just trading and being peaceful.
Yeah.
They didn't have any fortifications around their cities. And for example, if someone broke the rules or the morals, what they would be punished by being surrounded by people, and then those people would turn around and walk away. And so it's that loneliness, because we humans want to we need society, we need
need
to be
connection
part
with
of
other people.
Yeah, exactly. And so by the moment everyone walks away from you, that's why people are put in isolation. That's the biggest form of pain,
Yeah.
You can kill someone. Yeah, you can kill someone, but it's the loneliness which is the biggest form of torture. How did we start talking about this again?
From your work.
Well, yeah. Well, so yeah, I think the religion is just a moral thing, and you can still believe in science. I'm not saying it's the two opposites. I think they're harmonious. It goes one thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it goes
I
hand
totally
in
agree
hand.
with that.
Newton was Christian and he believed in God.
Yeah.
So was Einstein as well.
Yeah, it's like you said, they can kind of complement each other in that way, because I think as a personal view, for some people, it's just a way of life for them. And if it makes them happy and it fulfills parts that they feel like in their life might be missing, I think that's a really good thing. And until it turns into like world domination, that's when I think it might not be such a good positive thing. So it can be positive, but with the wrong people can be manipulated.
Yeah,
So-
definitely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. Yeah, those the corruption that brings bad image to
Mhm.
religion. Um, I already forgot what I wanted to say. Yeah, but
Have you had anyone go up to your canvas though and actually like touch it because it's so smooth?
well, yeah. When I told people to touch
Because
it,
I've been like going up to it and I'm like, just touch it.
it's tempted. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of going minimalistic is. I think that's what Mondrian said was if you get rid of that things, if you want to draw a flower, that's fine, but you're not getting the core essence to it. As you're
Yeah.
reduction, as you're removing things, you're coming closer and closer to the
Less
truth.
is more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still don't know what medium to use. Should I use oils or acrylics or spray paint? I don't know, but I got this general idea, and I'm in the process of selecting the colors and different swatches, and yeah, hopefully it gets done by end of this term.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure
But
you'll
yeah.
nail it.
Exactly. So yeah, geometry and shapes is just, I guess, my language and my work. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting because it's like maths and philosophy and science and religion and,
Yeah.
you know, it's all kind of all from the same branch, just very different from each other.
I think I'm not sure. No, it's not Vox. It's not Vice. There's some YouTube channel which talks about why people like harmony, and no, okay, we'll wrap this up. Yeah. So yeah, it's a harmonious things that actually taught our ancestors to select, to eat and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this embedded thing in our nature
Ah.
to look at harmonious
That's
and
interesting.
beautiful things. Yeah. So I'm trying to make my work as harmonious and aesthetically pleasing as well.
No, I think it is. Like when I look at it, you just kind of feel at peace with it. There's no like conflicting thing going
Yeah.
on inside my head. It's just like that's just lovely.
Cheers.
You're welcome.
So yeah, to kind of give a shout out networking thingy thing. Do you have any website, Instagram where people can see your work?
Yeah, my Instagram is EJB_artwork, and that's all I
Okay.
really have, really.
That's plenty.
Thank you.
So we're exhibiting today. What
Yep.
you're exhibiting? Would you like to talk about your work a bit?
Okay. What I feel weird about this unit, in which, okay, for this unit, I also was actively making work for the Lena Stainless Painter Prize competition, and I
Okay.
get the weird feeling that I spend more time on the competition painting than on the unit paintings.
Mm.
However, despite this, I don't know, shift of priorities, my unit work turned out to be surprisingly, like, thematically concise. It didn't on point, and quite well made. Like, I've
Nice.
made a whole series of digital collages. I accomplished my goal. I learned how to use at least Photoshop, at least as a beginner.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
still don't know how to use Photoshop.
I managed to successfully edit and properly edit my competition painting photographs to a professional level and submit them.
Yeah.
You could see that as an achievement.
Nice.
So, what I will say, I've also learned on this unit how to do like CMYK photo screen print.
All right.
Something that I wanted to learn since last year because I know how to do other screen printing techniques.
Mhm.
Before that, I usually made hand-drawn stencils, either by China graphs or Posca pens. So I accomplished it.
Nice.
The first one was a standard CMYK screen print with some of the rough edges, which of me fighting Wonder Woman.
Yeah, yeah.
And my second screen print is of me posing as different goddesses, from which photos referenced from actual Greek statues, and they were made with the opposite color scheme on CMYK. Instead of cyan, it's orange. Instead of magenta, it's light yellow-green. Instead of yellow, it's
Yeah, yeah.
violet, and black stayed black.
Mhm. Nice.
Turned out surprisingly well because I expected a complete disaster.
Is there anywhere people can see your work online?
Upstairs, the PlayStation 2. I have an Instagram account, but right now I'm posting more of my older artwork. Right now I'm posting my artwork from BA 2A,
All right.
like from my first semester's unit from last year. But the current work will be posted there eventually.
Nice. Well, technical difficulties, but all right. So,
That's okay.
would you like to introduce yourself, your work for this exhibition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my work is the piece with the stop motion animation of a little spider insect. And basically, the work began when I started writing poetry during the summer, and so on in the beginning of the year. It's sort of like I went through some depression and some personal things, so I started writing poetry. And then as I reflected on my second year work, I realized that I really enjoyed doing animation, and especially stop motion. And so I decided to refer back to my poetry and sort of create something within the stop motion that related to my poetry. And so, sorry.
Kind of like illustrated?
Yeah. So that's really the only one that I've drawn. The ones that I'm creating so far are more with like objects and things, but that's the only one that I thought would be perfect for the poem that I wrote about being scared of a small spider.
Yeah, spiders are disgusting.
Yeah, they are. But yeah, just all of the poems that I've exhibited, which is like I've printed them off and crunched them up into these little, pieces. I'm just quite, self-conscious about, presenting them like straightforward. So I wanted the audience to, take part within my exhibition and sort of interact with it. So that's like another way of me, not showcasing it fully, but then including the audience.
Okay.
And then the sculpture is sort of like represents just the weight of this little creature that's sort of heavy and, stressed and sort of, it's still very personal.
So it's in a way like an autobiographical
Yeah.
piece as well.
Yeah.
That's in PS4, right?
Yes, it's upstairs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And would you like to share, do you have like an art Instagram website thing where people can see your other work?
So I am on Instagram under victoria.boyko.art. I will try to update it because I haven't posted in a while, and
like almost a year now.
Really?
Well,
oh my god.
The last thing was when I cut my dreads off, but that's not art related.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
But okay, I'll make sure to have your link. Boom, note to myself.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello there,
Hi.
Jodie.
Yep.
Would you like to talk about your work and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm looking to going into teaching after doing the degree,
All right.
teaching art education. So I've started looking at that within my practice. My dissertation's on sort of art education and the methods and models that you can use in teaching to make it better for kids to understand. So sort of helping them understand the cultural importance of art as well, which is quite
Nice.
cool. A lot of my pieces that I'm doing at the moment are sort of classrooms and figurative stuff. So just looking at the environment of the classroom has been a part of my research and how we can make that space a bit more sort of
Learner friendly.
yeah, pretty much. that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So that's currently in PS3, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
just
So
above
that's
us.
a work in progress.
Mm.
Haven't finished it yet, but it's quite detailed, so it's getting there.
Yeah, so you started when this exhibition started. You also started painting.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
started painting the piece. So on the first day, it was I sort of primed the canvas ready for it, had it all mapped out, and then the first day I added sort of the underpainting. And it's kind of gone from there each day, so that the viewers can kind of look at my work and see it as a process as well.
Are you going to be able to finish the painting by the end of this exhibition, or?
I doubt it. I don't know. I asked them when we're taking down. I think they said that they're on about doing it tomorrow. So I think if I'll add a bit more to it, and once everyone's taken the stuff down, I'll see how far I've got. But it will be finished. And,
Yeah.
and then
At
the
least
next
you
phase.
demonstrated to people how you work.
Yeah, as my process, because
Yeah.
they sort of said that would be good for the exhibition anyway with the theme that's going on, so it worked, I think.
Yeah, that's lovely. Is there a way people can see your artworks? Website, Instagram?
Yeah, I have social media, so
Right.
I've recently changed the name of my Instagram. I can't actually remember what it is. I think it's jsy.artwork on Instagram, so
Okay.
if you have a look at that, then it should be all on there. I'm taking some time to kind of make a portfolio at the moment online on the website, but it's not fully finished yet. I'm trying to get that done. Heading towards like the end of year degree shows, so that's a
Yeah.
work in progress itself. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
It's the third year, like aims, I guess.
Yeah. There's a lot going on, isn't there? So see how much we can get done in the space of time we've got with hand in January. So.
Well, I wish you all the best with
Thank
with your dissertation and your practice and whatnot.
You too.
Cheers. Thank you for being guest, I guess.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We got part of the curatorial team. Hello, guys.
Hello.
So I think this is already wrapping up the exhibition. Are you guys happy with the turnout and?
I think it was a really good turnout, don't you?
I can't believe how many people actually turned up in the end. I wasn't expecting to fill the whole of PS3. I think that was ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
Especially for the.
That was honestly probably
show.
one of the best turnouts we've had as a year group. So.
yeah, it was incredible. I was sort of like jumping up and down with joy, like, yay, people turned up.
Well,
I think it was really good because of how interactive it was and how kind of open to interpretation the whole exhibition was, and it allowed for a lot of different practices.
Yeah.
So I think that's what kind of drew the audience in.
Yeah.
Nice. And you also are exhibiting a piece of work, and you aren't.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk a bit about your work?
I can do.
Yeah.
My work's rather large.
I'm not sure if it's in the shot, but no, it's not. But
Oh yes.
Do we look okay?
There.
My work is rather large. It's a monochrome acrylic painting. Still a work in progress, obviously, because
Under construction,
it's
but
unfinished. Under construction, quite literally. The piece is all kind of created through the act of the subconscious and creating things as they come, rather than having a pre-anticipated outcome.
All right.
So
it's like a journey in a way.
yeah. So it's like a journey through the painting. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know when it's going to be finished. I just get an inkling when I'm close to something that I'm happy with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all kind of quite spontaneous.
Yeah. And regarding curating, it's hard to curate 60 people. So how did you guys spread the load, and what were your tasks?
Aurelia sort of started in PS1 and PS2, and then Rosie came later and helped us out.
Okay.
And then Beth and Sarah took upstairs because I think they were more.
That was scary.
I think because they were working with a lot of the artists upstairs and wanted it to be more of an interactive sort of workshop base. They sort of worked upstairs. But I don't know, the works down here were quite playful, and I think it's very important for PS1 to sort of make a statement.
Yeah, it really needs to have that impact on the audience, as it's the first kind of room that you enter when walking around the show. So it has to have that kind of, not finalised, but definitely have big enough works in the way that they're kind of conceptually driven and
I think we wanted to
pleasing.
make this work this space quite playful as well, because upstairs we have like so much interactive work. There's people working in the spaces, there's workshops going on, and there's loads of interactive art, and it's like, how do we make sure that people are just as interested in this space as they are upstairs?
Definitely.
So even though this space was probably one of the easier spaces to curate, because PS2 is a nightmare with health and safety in the lockers and
I
everything.
got experience with
Yeah,
that
the
as well.
hallway, the tightness
Yeah.
of the hallway.
Making PS2 look good is hard, but I feel like
Yeah.
we did a good job with it in the end.
Particularly with the kind of amounts of work that we got and working within the space and kind of, taking into consideration the
Yeah.
lockers.
And it's hard to please everyone as well, because, I think in the degree show, usually we'd have about 2 weeks to set up, whereas we had about, 6 curators setting up about 60 to 70 people's work.
Yeah, trying to organise it all in one
Yeah.
day as well.
It was-
Usually installation doesn't actually normally take one day, does it really?
And there's
No.
always one thing missing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's always something that goes wrong. There's always something you have to work around. And PS2 probably took the longest
Yeah.
for us, definitely. And I think, a lot of artists are always like, oh, I've been put in this space and it's not PS1 or PS3 and I want it to, I wish it was somewhere
Definitely,
else. So I think
yeah.
it's important for us to make sure we make all the spaces look just as good as the next, so everyone's happy.
And different artworks require different way of looking as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For example, the sculptures, you literally need space to walk around.
Yeah.
Whilst, for example, some two-dimensional works which you actually need to come and read of something or look for details, they don't require much space. So it's good that you guys managed to kind of get everything
take that into
in
account.
in
I think it's
consideration.
definitely one of the hardest kind of challenges that we've had to face is the different types of work, because obviously the name under construction kind of implicates that we as curators want unfinished work, and that could be any type of work. So that could be from any kind of practice, driven from anywhere. So having that within the project spaces we were given was quite tricky to kind of work around and trying to get everyone in a place where they're happy with their work, because we never wanted to be in a place where, how do I say this, in a place where the artists aren't happy. We want the artists and curators to both feel like their needs are met. Yeah.
And I think it's all about that idea of compromise. It's
Yeah.
saying, we can't quite do this, but we don't want you to be unhappy either. Can we find this middle ground? It's all about
Definitely,
communication with the artists to make sure that they are happy and we are happy with the outcome.
Yeah, I think that's like the key, one of the main things that we've tried our best to kind of incorporate within the show, because obviously if the artist isn't happy, the client's not happy really.
Yeah.
And like we need to be in a space where it works conceptually, but also kind of allows for the work to speak for itself.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
I think that's always so hard to name an exhibition of 60 odd people, because I think that's why it's so broad, like under construction, like it's just works in progress. I think putting a label on something of a whole year could ultimately change the work's meaning. And I think, it's so hard to do something, because even by placing, say, John's small whale in front of this, it sort of gives this sort of sexual...
Yeah, it gives it kind of
quite
a
a
sexual
sexual
element.
element. And it probably isn't intended that way or something, but it looks that way, and it's so hard with such a big group to try and give the artists what they want and what they feel with so many juxtaposing sort of pieces around them.
But I think overall, it turned out quite like smooth, and when people don't notice any flaws, that actually means that you guys did a good job. And if there was something, sticking out somewhere and something didn't work in the space, then that would be a sign of a bad curation. But I think you guys managed to glue everything nicely.
Ah, thanks.
I think, I think we did really well.
That's good.
I think conversation is just so important.
Yeah, conversation and communicating with, i.e. whether it be the curators or whether it be your actual exhibiting artists. It's so important to kind of keep that line of communication there.
I was thinking next time, especially with my artists, I'd actually start recording our conversations because
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
don't know how to say his name. You know, Hans-Ulrich Obrist, he's like a really famous
Yeah.
curator. He
Yeah.
records, he's got about 24,000 hours
Wow.
worth of footage and like sound recordings of just him talking with his clients, his artists, and he's obsessed with it. But he's one of the best artists because he puts the artist first and sort of has them conversations to fully understand their work and then curate it in the right way.
Yeah,
Definitely.
accordingly.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
everything.
definitely. That's such a good idea. Like,
And also, it's a good like kind of defense mechanism, if in case someone wants to change something. I was like, well, you can't. I mean, you can, but you know, you said this and that, so.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And it's sticking by your word as well.
Yeah.
And it also kind of brings kind of the work out of that kind of stylized, forced kind of gallery context into a very kind of more understanding, approachable gallery space where you feel more comfortable within the gallery. And I think that's really what we were trying to go for, was making the space playful but also still sticking with some kind of gallery ideals.
Yeah. And I think the project spaces are quite versatile for that. They're not quite, you know, that standard white cube. They've got the white walls, but they're all sort of different heights, like weird angles and hallways. And
Yeah,
I
a
think
little
you can,
dents somewhere in dents and whatnot.
you can there's so much to work around because of health and safety, and you have to look at that so hard because you really get grilled into it otherwise. But I think, you know, I think these spaces are so amazing at NUA because it sort of gives the artist a chance to sort of play outside of that just basic square.
And also, it's
room.
that the whole skill of, you know, being problem solver.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
definitely.
Yeah. That is
100%.
definitely going on my CV.
Problem solving, a big deal
Yeah.
for curation,
Yeah.
for sure. Like,
We were here
Definitely.
till 9
yeah.
when we were setting up from when we met at 11, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we were all here at 9:30.
Everyone
and
was
then
hands on.
setting up started at around 11,
Yeah.
dropping work off. Organisation, I think, is a massive
Yeah.
thing to also improve. Whilst I think we did well, we also could improve
Yeah.
for future reference. But I think,
It's good, like,
Yeah.
you know, we're all third years now and we got experience in it.
Yeah.
So you know what to avoid and what you want out of people, out of curation, out of,
Yeah.
you know, what you want for your outcome, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I must admit though, curating, because when I was doing fair hairs, just that small amount was so much easier. This is this is something else. You
I think
know, like-
by having, like, don't they say, like, a lot of chefs in the kitchen it becomes a challenge in itself, like, but also a really good learning curve.
Yeah.
Because, it's just learning to work in a group and in a team, but when the numbers kind of change,
Yeah.
it completely changes the outcome of,
Yeah.
yeah.
When when people left early, like through no fault of their own, but then you sort of realise how much you actually need that extra help
Yeah.
when people aren't around, and we're quite grateful to have such a big curation team
Yeah,
because it wouldn't have
definitely.
been done without
Definitely.
the rest of them.
I think
Yeah.
it's also, like, really important to say that the installation team, how big a difference that makes when you're acting as a curator, having an installation team who are also part of the curation team allows for so much, like, de-stress. We organised everything. We
Yeah.
had particular roles. They were really useful in the sense of, and valuable
Yeah.
towards kind of the overall outcome of the show. Like, we wouldn't have got everything done without.
They
Yeah.
sort of took that stance. It's like, we don't want creative input. We're just going to be technical and put the work up. So we were sort of sitting there while they were carrying these huge, heavy pieces, just like, actually, to the right a bit. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm so tired. And considering they had to put up every single piece
Yeah.
in one
What,
night.
60 odd people's work
Yeah.
in one day.
And all the labels are
Yeah.
on the right level.
Right side.
Right side, 122 centimetres up, levelled.
Exactly.
Yeah,
one
spirit
thing.
leveled, everything.
Yeah.
It was quite a production.
Yeah.
Took about 3 people to do.
By the end of it, we were literally running around the spaces, like trying to get it all
Get it
sorted.
all up, yeah. It's definitely a learning curve in the sense of, like, you never, whenever you think something's going to take a short amount of time. It never takes
Never does.
Yeah,
No.
it's never as quick as you think it's going to be,
No.
which is, definitely something that, I've learned for sure.
I
but-
feel like next time, I know, it's sort of through, we have our own faults, but the scheduling was difficult to work around considering we had, Thursday to set up, and then all we had was really Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and it felt like too short of a show for something this big of a scale. So
Yeah, I was
short
thinking-
but sweet though,
such a pressure to finish that night and make sure everything's done. And we did a good job considering,
Definitely.
I'd say.
Yeah.
I'd say so. I think it's that idea of the temporary, isn't it? Like the theme of having the temporary.
Yeah.
Like nothing's ever here for a long time. So this space in itself is a working construction site. Like things are changing constantly. So it's kind of interesting in how we've documented that as well.
Yeah,
So.
it's been really nice to see because two of the artists in my curation group, Jodie and Aisha, they were stressing out and they were like, I don't know what to make for it. And I was just like, why don't you make something in the space? Offered them this graphic design table that's been left in my studio, and I'm like, taking that. Don't
Use the
post
best
this
of the
on
resources.
anywhere.
Well, problem solving. There you go.
But it was kind of interesting because as soon as Aisha and Jodie were in the space, people actually just started sitting around them and making their own
definitely.
canvases. Like Gigi and Chloe came out and had these canvases and were stretching them in the space because people were working in there, so it felt more comfortable to work in that like a studio.
Definitely.
And it almost completed
atmosphere
that
changed.
empty
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
It really gave that space life and interactivity within something that was so kind of bare. So it was really used for its purpose.
Yeah,
so I'm quite
definitely.
happy with how that's turned out because different people have used it every day.
Yeah.
So couldn't have asked for better in that sense.
Well, finally, you guys can, relax now and have proper relief.
Dissertation, Philip.
Well, at least, one night, I guess. Tomorrow
that's
is back
true.
again. Back to work.
Probably
Stay
best
tuned
things.
for the what's it called again?
Staff student show.
Staff student show coming up.
We don't know what we're doing yet.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be fun.
No idea.
No clue.
Is there, if you have any art websites, Instagram accounts where people can see your practices and
Okay, so I have Sophie Banksy art, because play on Banksy.
but
And
right.
then sophiebanksart.com. Just make sure you put art at the end, because sophiebanks.com is a porn website, which I found out, unfortunately. So just be
Good- yeah.
careful of
Don't
that.
Google that.
Good notice.
Do it.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I've got a Weebly website, which literally you just type in Aurelia Costa and it pops up, because I seem to be the only Aurelia Costa. So yeah. And then my Instagram is aurelia.costa. Very
Cool.
boring, sorry.
I just really love the creativity in that. I just really wanted to comment on
Wow.
I like to keep it short and sweet.
that. Like me.
Yeah.
Well, lovely. Thank you guys for your input and for curating this exhibition.
You're welcome.
Lovely.
Thank you for doing a podcast.
Yeah.
No
Thanks
problem.
for having us.